Hello, everyone. Welcome to RGS Live. I'm Thomas Michaud, for those of you who didn't know that already. And today I'm going to do my absolute best to answer all your guitar-related questions. And I've got a few to start off with, but not too many. So if you have some questions you'd like to ask, don't be shy. Put them in the chat. If you could start with the word question, there's a lot of comments, and that way I can quickly see your question. And I don't want to miss it, of course. At the end, as usual, I'll do a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card for those who are in my RGS membership and have completed the sessions, the guitar sessions for the month of January, right? Oh boy, it's already February 1st, 2024. Can you believe it? Seems like things are speeding up. I don't know if it's just me or what. Anyway, let's get started. The first question I have for today is, what's special about a 12-string guitar? And why might I want to add one to my collection? What styles of music does one play? And is it harder than a regular 6-string guitar? So I wish I had a 12-string to show you, but I don't. A 12-string guitar is tuned exactly the same way as a normal 6-string. And it has double strings. I forget what the actual sets are, but some of them are octaves, tuned an octave. In other words, you'll have a note and then one note higher in that same string. And then some are the same. I think basically the high strings are the same and the low strings have octaves with them. So the main effect is to make a very big sound. And this is where I wish I had one to show you. You can play a very simple chord and it sounds like two people playing, basically. Because it's double strings, obviously, some things are a little harder. You can imagine trying to play a fast melody with hitting two strings at once, and even finger picking, you're striking double strings each time. But it sounds very full. Simple things can sound better or more elaborate anyway. For me, the reason I don't own one, and I have in the past, but I don't keep one around, is just I wouldn't use it enough to warrant basically the space in my room. If it's more of a novelty item for me, I can't do a lot of the kinds of playing that I do on a 12-string. It's more of for me, a specialty item. And it kind of depends if you want to add one to your repertoire of tools, so to speak, that you can pull out and play on. For a lot of people, it's just fun. You can play the same simple strumming chords and it sounds very full. I think for a lot of people, it also would be an extra expense that they wouldn't use a lot. So you have to decide if it's worth the value for you and how much you like it. I would encourage you to find a 12-string guitar and just either play it or have somebody play it and see what it sounds like and see if you think it's something that you might want to experiment with and play around with. And of course, like anything else, you can get a lower priced one or you can get a very expensive one, just like any guitar. I would say in general, they're not harder to play, but if you're trying to do some of the same things, it won't work as well, like melody. I mean, you can imagine if I were playing something like this, that would, even if I could easily finger it, it would sound so cluttered with two strings on each note. It wouldn't have much value. But simple melodies, with double strings, that it makes it a little more full and a little more interesting. So I'll stop there. If you have any more questions, please feel free to add them. I'll start with the next question for now. I wrote a song and I want to transcribe it on paper or a computer. What software is recommended and how do I use it? So I used to write all my music on regular manuscript paper and by hand, and I got okay. My penmanship was never great, but it was legible, and I could get it on paper fairly quickly, never as fast as I wanted to. But over the last 20 years, I've slowly, went all the way on the computer, and I hardly ever write out anything. Sometimes just I'll grab a piece of paper just to remember something, but as quickly as I can, get it in the computer. for several reasons. One is because I actually can do it faster. You know, I can write out a whole line. If that line repeats, I can just copy and paste it. I don't have to rewrite the whole thing. The other reason is it's easy for me to save. It's on the computer. I don't have to go find that piece of paper again. And, you know, if you have one or two, yeah, that's one thing. But if you have dozens and dozens, it gets more and more complicated. There's a lot of software, and there's even free software on the internet. I use mostly something called Guitar Pro. It's designed for guitar. Basically, it allows me to write the notes and tablature all at one time. So I can fairly quickly get the guitar regular notation, or I'm sorry, the guitar tablature and standard notation all in one line. What I do is I enter it in on the software, the tab, where it is on my guitar, and it will automatically put the notes. And I have to decide, you know, the rhythm figures. There's no way for it to know. I have a friend who has an acoustic guitar with a pickup, and he has this pickup attached to his computer, and he can play something, and it writes it out on the computer. I don't do that. I watched him, and he has to do so much correcting. I don't know. I'm not sure it's quite there yet. And guitar is a tricky one. On keyboard, that works much better. One note is one note, but on the guitar, you get all these little inflections, you know, the bending and the sliding and all the other little things, and it can easily mistake it for two notes or not get the inflections right. So I don't know. I'm sure it's getting better and better, and you know, I'd love to hear if anybody has experience with that. If they have a system that works really well without so much going back and correcting. Guitar Pro's recommended. It's fairly affordable, fairly easy to use. It's all over the place, so it's easy to find instruction videos. Another more complicated one that I used for years, and I still have access to, is called Sibelius. More complicated, more features. It's used often for professionals writing scores for, you know, whatever, orchestra, for bands, for TV, film, that kind of thing. Obviously, with more features comes more learning curve. And I'm pretty comfortable with it, but I found if I do it in Guitar Pro, I have more resources to people that I can share it with because they have Guitar Pro. So a lot more guitar players have Guitar Pro. I can share a file with them, and they can open it up and either make corrections or play it or whatever we want to do. As a matter of fact, I've seen some lessons that they insist the student buy Guitar Pro. Then they share the file because you can press a button and have it play on the screen what you wrote. So you can actually hear the tune without playing it. I toyed with that idea, but I don't want to have everybody to have to go out and buy some software to use my lessons. Anything else about that question? Again, if you think of some other aspect I missed, again, there's a lot of free stuff. I've seen stuff come and go. I don't know what's currently the most used or the most popular free things online, but they have less features. And for me, I'd rather just get Guitar Pro and get used to it and have all, not only the features, but the whole community that's associated with it. How to use it? Really, the best thing I've found to learn to use it, well, there's two parts of this. To use the software itself, YouTube videos, or videos in general, and a lot of them are on YouTube. Just type in what you're trying to do, and in Google, it'll usually come up with a YouTube video on somebody that's made a YouTube video about using Guitar Pro. The other aspect of using it is understanding what notes, the timing and everything, and the terminology. And Guitar Pro, unless you're like on a keyboard playing it and it's actually recording how long you're holding a note and those kind of things, it doesn't know. You have to know what this means. 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to know the rhythm to that and enter it in. That is a learning process. Like anything else, it's basically learning how to read a language, how to understand a language and express it in writing. That means learning the time notes and what they sound like, and preferably even the notes itself, what they should look like. So when you write it in Guitar Pro, you can tell if it looks accurate or not. It's a process, and like anything else, you do it step slowly practice, do some more practice, step by step. It's a good complement to playing guitar, but not absolutely necessary unless you want to write your own stuff. Finally, let me mention one other possibility. You can play something on and record it and then pay somebody on a website to transcribe it. Just like you would transcribe somebody's speech or something, talking, and put it into words, they'll transcribe the music for you. And a popular site for that is called Fiverr, Fiverr. And another one is Upwork. I've used both, actually. I can't keep up with all the transcribing work that I need, so I pay somebody to help me out. And I can, fortunately, look and see what they did and make corrections. And, I have them do it in Guitar Pro, so I can open up the file, and if I say something not quite right or I want to add to it, no problem. I can do that very quickly. I don't have to go back and forth. That's a possibility if you have something you really want to have transcribed and you're not about waiting to learn all the technicalities that you need to do it right. Pay somebody to do it. And you'll learn too. When you listen to your song and you see what they did, little by little, that helps you learn what it looks like on paper and what it sounds like for you. Another possibility. It's fairly affordable, Fiverr, but like anything else, depends on how you value it. If you're just doing it for fun, you have to decide if it's worth the money. Next, I can't seem to build strumming speed. This is Cecil. I hope I said your name. Cecil. Cecil or Cecil? Cecil. I think Cecil. And I practiced drums quite a bit after learning them. I am 72 and I have arthritis in my hands. Are there any practice techniques? Or is it just a fact of life? I'm not going to be able to get it, and I'll just have to lower my expectations, basically, is what he's saying. Okay, great question. Boy, I have a lot to say about that, and I'll try to be concise and not spend the whole session on this. First of all, Cecil, if you're on the call, could you clarify what you mean by strumming speed? Are you talking about going faster up and down with your strumming hand? Or are you actually talking about transitioning from one chord to the other, strumming and being able to get to the next chord on time, or something else that I'm not even thinking about? I'll keep an eye out for it if you're on the call and if you can elaborate on that a little bit. Because that's a big difference, by the way, on how I would approach working with that. But that said, I'm going to start with the assumption that we say strumming speed, you're talking about the right hand. You don't need a lot of speed to basically strum with the right hand. And if you have arthritis, that's not a big issue because it's in the left hand where you're making all different forms that's going to slow you down. Strumming is just going up and down. So age, arthritis doesn't really affect basic pop rock strumming unless you're doing something very elaborate. I mean, there are some strums that require a very quick speed, but most don't. And it depends, of course, on the kind of music that you like. Also, I would, let's put it this way. Yes, getting older imposes some limitations inevitably, right? That's life. But I have noticed with myself and with students that we tend to assume more limitations than are actually there. And I'll give you a quick example. I want to learn this particular technique. It's a flamenco classical guitar technique, and it involves some quick movement. Tremolo it's called. And I want to get up to a certain speed. I have certain artists that I've one in particular that's really good at it, and I really like that. And I want to play like that. And I've caught myself having the assumption, well, at my age, maybe I can't expect to get up to that speed. I'll be happy to either play slowly or just not worry about that particular technique, getting good at it. And I read an interview with the artist that I particularly admire. His strumming technique is tremolo techniques, right hand speed. And he said, somebody asked him about how you got good at it. And he said, I just spent a lot of time at it over and over. And he's not quite as old as me, but he's up there. That's the way it is. I realized my assumption was causing me not to actually spend the time, and so I was proving myself right by actually not working at it. Long story short, what I did was I started really spending the time working on that technique, and sure as heck, I am not there where I would like to be finally, but I can see it will get there. And I'm so much better now that if I never got there, the improvement I made is enough for it all to be worth it. I would challenge you that the assumption that your age or arthritis or that is often blown out of proportion compared to just spending the time consistently and practicing. I know many younger people that they have different excuses, but same thing. When I analyze their excuse, it's sort of a crutch so that they don't actually put in the time and energy and consistency to get there. And then they use that as evidence, because they're not there, that it's this other thing. It's universal. It's human nature. I would say you have nothing to lose by really going for it. And that means consistently spending time working on the technique that you want to get better at, starting slow, doing what you have to do. Learn how to do it right. Learn how to break it down into little pieces and then build it up. Take time, work on it every day, a little bit, several times a day, a little bit, maybe 3 times. My fingers get sore faster than when I was younger. Okay, I'll practice for a shorter period of time, take a break, I'll even stretch, and then come back at it again later, sometimes 10 minutes later, and sometimes a second session in a day or a third session. Funny thing is, where I had pain slower, now I'm finding I can play much faster with less pain, partly by a combination of keep coming back at it and stretching and keep coming back at it, but also the muscles are just seem to be getting the hang of it. Well, that's just what we do. We'll find some other place to be pain. So there's no magic formula. Persistence, slowly but surely, and doing it right. I mean, don't do 2 hours, get so sore you can't play for a week. That's not reasonable. And of course, some people, I've done that, and then I blame it on, like my body won't allow me to do that. That was my first thing. I try and practice for a long period of time. I get sore and it hurt for a couple of days and say, I'm too old. No, I just was being unreasonable. Instead, I look for a solution and a way to work it that fits with my lifestyle and my age, and just assume that I'll be able to do it. I just need to keep figuring out a way to work at it. Okay, bit of a rant, huh? Sorry if that was more than you expected, but arthritis and your age don't need to keep you from strumming by far. And the basic technique of strumming, I'd have to send you to some different lessons, and, in the show notes, maybe I'll add some links. But basically, you just start with a simple strum and then turn the metronome up little by little and keep working at that. The process is more important than the actual exercise. Do it a little bit every day, maybe twice a day, and just keep at it until you get to where you want to go. And that might mean weeks, months, years in my case. I've been working on this tremolo years. I could have sped up if I'd been more focused and a little more confident that I could do it in the beginning, but I came around eventually, huh? Better late than never. Okay, yeah, enough on that, huh? Next, maybe this fits in. Tim's asking, could you do a little review on some hand stretches and warm-up routines? Yes, be glad to. First, stretches. Let's start there. My favorite stretch is this, because this is where I often get sore in the tendons in the back of my hands. It's just putting my hands together and holding it like this. And I'll hold it for 10, 15, 20, about 30, 40 seconds is my top. And I'll shake it out. Sometimes I'll go back and do it again. I'm going by feel. I do this almost every practice session at the start and sometimes most of the time in the middle. I'll stop and just take a couple minutes to stretch again. Seems to really help me. Any stretching you do, I'll say you need to pay attention to your body. Don't overstretch. Look if it's painful, find that place where it's a good pain, or if it's too much, back up a little bit. Go for little at a time as opposed to a whole bunch at once, especially when you're starting. The thing is, if you're not used to stretching, a little bit, just this is probably enough to start. And do it once, twice a day, and then check. See, it's, next day, if you're not in too much pain, do it again, maybe a little longer, that kind of thing. I've had people tell me you need to check in with a physical therapist before you start anything. I don't know about that. I don't think I'd get anything done if I had to go hire a physical therapist every time I needed to do some, just simple stretches, including the rest of my body type stretches. But it does take some going at it with a certain amount of consciousness, not just a whole bunch at once as hard as you can. That's asking for trouble. Sorry, my notes just disappeared on me. I just touched the computer. What, they back? Yeah, we're back. I do this all the time. I have a whole series of stretches, but I always come back to this one. Also, I'll do it this way, but I find this is not stretching my hand so much as my shoulder. And I do that because I have had shoulder problems. And I want to stretch and strengthen my shoulders a little bit with light exercise. In general, when you hurt yourself, you don't want to stay stationary for too long, but you want to be very cautious. If you hurt yourself or there's some pain, just do it very lightly, but keep it moving. That tends to heal it faster than just staying stationary. Another stretch that I do very lightly is this for my wrist. I'll pull my thumb in. Oh, let me see if. And I would go really easy on that because I know one person that went for it and he was sore for a while. So I don't recommend that. Just lightly. And then you can decide if you can do a little bit more, but go in stages and a little at a time. And that seems to be good for my wrist. Just this helps. Just shaking it out. And then I have my wife stretch and pull my hands. She's very generous that way. She is a trained massage therapist, so it's normal for her. And that really helps me. I really like that. This basic massage. You can do it yourself if you don't have a wife to do it for you or a wife that wants to do it for you. That helps me. I have to say, I generally have very little pain in my hand. But when I do, I'll stop and stretch. I'll shake it out. I won't just try and push through and play harder and faster kind of thing, which I did when I was younger. and I found out what happens when you do that too much. There's another kind of stretching and warm-up, and that's to do with your guitar. And my favorite it's on the guitar, is just place one finger on the 5th fret, 6th string, then the second finger on the 6th fret, third finger on the 7th fret, and the pinky on the 8th fret. Then do that for each string. If you're just starting this, just do it like this. Don't worry about time. But you want to get to where you can do it in time. Here's a metronome. Again, you don't start there, but now what I'm doing is I'm gently warming up my hands, and I'm also paying attention to getting good technique. Nice rounded finger right next to the fret, good clear sound. Slow enough so I can actually do that. When I'm playing, I got so many things going on, I can't always give it my full attention, but I can start off this way. And then I do the same thing going, we call descending from the high string to low string. Now, once you do that, if you're comfortable with that, move down a fret. and do the same thing. So I'll play a little faster so you can actually see how it goes. I wouldn't worry about the picking out too much. Just go straight down, just to keep it simple. You're focusing on the left hand. Relax. If it's getting tense, go slower, shake it out, start again. You know, when you start getting too uptight, which I do sometimes, I know I need to slow it down a little bit and then build back up a little bit over time. Now, move it down another fret. See, what I'm doing is the frets are wider down here than they are here. So I'm starting with the frets closer together. And as you move down, you're stretching your fingers this way. So when I get all the way down to here, that's a more of a stretch between my fingers than it was up here on the 5th fret. Now I have a more elaborate stretch for that. It goes like this. And you see, I do move, but I move only when I absolutely have to. So I'm getting a more elaborate stretch. I would start here. If you haven't done this, I wouldn't jump to that one. And the same thing, you could start here. But again, I could do that, but that would have been very hard for me when I was, learning in the first years. That is a more advanced stretch, and I would start with the easier stretch, move it all the way down. Consider that a typical warm-up, and over time, if you're ready, skip every other fret, and that will extend your fingers quite a bit more, huh? I hope that helps. Let's see. That's all for the pre-submitted questions. Let me head over to the chat and see what we got. And again, if you're on the call and you think of something related to these, please add them to the chat. If you could start with the word question, I appreciate it. I'm looking for the word question. Question. I recall you had a lesson on creating a weekly practice schedule, and you included a recommended form or template to use. I can't find it. Can you point me in the right direction? Thanks, David. Yes, David. You're a member of Real Guitar Success. The best way to do it is if you go on any page, there's a search bar up there, and I think just type in the search bar weekly practice and stuff will come up, and I'm pretty sure you'll find it that way. I've learned with searches to try and do as few words as possible at first. When I put a lot of words, it'll pick one word that wasn't quite right and the whole search will be off. And then if that doesn't work, try practice schedule. Now I'll take this question and I'll find it and put a link in the show notes, but that won't be out until I think Monday. So to get you there now, that would be the quickest way to get there. And then I'll do the same thing, find it and put a link in the show notes. Question. I'm looking to start playing fingerstyle hybrid crossover nylon string guitar. Thoughts on guitar manufacture around $2,000 or less. So, Dan, I don't know exactly what you mean playing fingerstyle hybrid crossover nylon string guitar. Are you saying that you want to buy a nylon string guitar for fingerstyle? Or are you talking about a specific guitar that you could play steel and nylon on? If you could help with that, maybe I can give you some ideas. I will say right off hand, I don't have a lot of experience buying nylon string guitars in the $2,000 range. I could suggest some brands that I know are reputable. My nylon string guitars are handmade and they cost a lot more than that. But I wouldn't recommend starting there. You have to know what you're looking for and why you would want to spend that much for a guitar. So I think for $2,000 you can get a nice guitar. I think so. I'll look for your clarification, Dan. Let me know. Maybe say something more about what you mean by crossover, or if you're just talking a regular nylon string classical type guitar that you're going to play some different styles on. I realize that crossover might mean I've seen these guitars that are kind of acoustic guitars with nylon strings, kind of jazzy type guitars too. So maybe that's what you're referring to. Taylor, somebody recommend Taylor. They make some darn good guitars. I like the idea of a neck profile like a steel string. Oh, the narrowness of a steel string, but with nylon strings maybe? That I don't have experience with myself. I'm fine with the wide neck myself. But I have seen friends who play an ovation version of that. Used to be more popular than it is now. Now I don't see that much of it. There's a... let me think about that a little bit. Nylon with a thin neck, like a steel string. That sounds like the kind of jazzy guitar I've seen some people play. Jerry says Don Taylor makes a narrow neck nylon string. Don't remember the model. Oh, Taylor makes a... Well, that might be a good suggestion because I think that's in the price range, and I've played Taylor guitars. I have one. I think they're good guitars. If you're going to spend a couple thousand, they're a serious consideration. In playing instrumental interlude on America, on the acoustic guitar, is it okay to do single note melody or improv? Absolutely. You can play single note melody, improv. You can play harmonized melody, and you can make up little chords. But there's no rule that says you have to do it a certain way in folk style. I will say the style of folk in the 60s and 70s was less rocky than a lot of the improv that you hear now, less bending, and it was more playing notes that were more melodic, I would say. Cecil, speed up and down for Spanish guitar beginner lessons. Oh, so Cecil is referring to my comment about strumming. And so he's strumming with his fingers. The same thing applies. The basic technique is, first of all, practice the technique slowly and do it with a metronome at a slow speed that you can do it fairly accurately. And then keep at it a little every day, 5-10 minutes a day on the strum. It's going to take time. I don't know a quick technique to make it go faster other than keep at it, and keep at it. I mean, don't let the day go by. Maybe Sunday, okay. But keep at it and come back at it several times a day. Make it just for 3 months, I'm going to do this twice, 3 times a day, 5-10 minutes a day. It works, and you'll convince yourself you can do it, and then you can make more decisions from there. And let's see. Can you please explain folk style chord, C and D? What makes it that, and what makes it a non-folk style? Okay, this might be, sometimes I refer to this as a folk style C chord, and this is a more pop style C. Technically, by the way, this is called a C add 9, but I don't see the reason to always scream that out when you're playing a simple chord progression. It serves as a C function in a simple chord progression. That would be a simple progression, 3 chords. I just call it a C, G, and D. It's simply a matter of what the style of that period, or in this case, the style. When I hear folk guitar players, what do they sound like? Do they sound like they're playing this C or this C? Most of them are playing this C for folk songs, so I call that a folk style C, as opposed to this C, which is more prevalent in pop rock style music, modern music. Same with the folk style D. I don't know a pop style D necessarily. I know other Ds, but I haven't distinguished between like a pop and a folk style. But this D is used a lot in regular folk style music. And most folk style is using a lot of open chords like that. Cordoba. I forgot about Cordoba. They make a fusion crossover guitar. That's worth a look. I know they make good guitars. I play them at the trade shows. Can you please remind me or review of where to find the soloing improvisation lessons in Real Guitar Success? Yes, gladly, Rogelio. In Real Guitar Success, go up to the top bar, and you're going to go to lessons and go to down where it says RGS University. Or now that I say that, let me do a quick check here. I think I might actually change that. Lessons. I did. Go to the dashboard, click on dashboard, and you'll see on the dashboard, there's in the middle, there's RGS University. And in RGS University, you'll find lessons on improvisation. There's a bunch of boxes, and one of them is a course on improvisation. It's called How to Solo, Step by Step. Let's see. Mark. Bye, Mark. That's all the questions I have for now. If you have another question, or if you think of something you'd like me to elaborate on, go ahead and add it now. I'll go ahead and do the drawing, and I'll come back and answer any last-minute questions. And again, for those of you who are new to this, I do a drawing once a month at the beginning of the month for people in the Real Guitar Success program that have completed the guitar sessions for the month. There's 5 sessions a week, 1 each day, and all you need to do is do 10 minutes on the lesson and just check it off. Do that 5 days a week, and at the end of the month, I enter you into a drawing for a $50 Amazon gift card. Just fun, little extra incentive to complete the sessions. But the real win is completing the sessions not only gets you better on guitar, but exposes you to different techniques, and you can save them in the favorites and come back at them later. So, drawing for this month, last month, Greg, you are the winner, and I will send you your gift card today. And again, all of you who have completed the sessions for the month are winners, but Greg gets the Amazon gift card. Any last-minute questions? Rogelio says, got it. Thank you. You're very welcome. Okay, I hope I didn't miss anything. If I did, please let me know, and I'll gladly either respond to you and try and help you out with a private message. Otherwise, I will look forward to seeing you next month for RGS Live, the first Thursday of every month. So I hope to see you back and invite your guitar-playing friends. Bye for now.